Am I the asshole for not paying fully for my daughter's college but paying for my stepdaughter? I have one daughter, Sarah, and a stepdaughter, Kate. Sarah's mom and I divorced when Sarah was 13. Regrettably, Sarah and I do not have a close relationship as I live in a different state and her mom had full custody and I only got visitations. I met my wife 1 year after my divorce and she and Kate moved in with me when we got serious. Sarah refused to come to the wedding and did not bother to get to know my wife and Kate. During our divorce proceedings, my ex and I agreed that we would each put aside $40,000 for Sarah's college, enough for 4 years. There is $90,000 in that account, my ex added a bit more. To be honest, Sarah was never interested in college nor did she do well in school, so I didn't really think about it. Since Sarah is graduating this summer, she came to me and told me she had gotten into a very fancy fashion school that was more expensive than the budget as she would be an out-of-state student as well. She asked if I would pay for it and I said no. I and her mother agreed on the cost and as I am paying for Kate as well I cannot afford it. Kate got early admission into an elite university for medicine and I promised my wife I would take care of it. Sarah started yelling at me and behaving in a very childish manner. She said I abandoned her and her mom and favored Kate. None of that is true. I told her she had plenty of money for her college and quite frankly paying that much to study fashion is ridiculous. She cussed me out and left. I was very angry as she came to see me in my office and all my coworkers heard her. I texted her that I expected an apology and she texted back cussing me out and uninviting me from her graduation, which was this past week. We haven't spoken since and she has blocked me on everything. Edit. I see a lot of assumptions about my parenting already. Please judge what's being asked. I did my best with Sarah. The only reason I moved was so I could make more money to send to her, so she could go to private school and have the same lifestyle she did when I was married. I showed up for every single visitation and traveled every single time. The only time she was expected to travel to me was for my wedding, which she refused to do. My ex resented me for starting the divorce proceeding and she and Sarah view my wanting a divorce as me abandoning Sarah. I did my best to make my marriage work but it just didn't. There was plenty of alienation from my wife's side, especially after I got married. I spent plenty of visitation days in a hotel room because Sarah wouldn't come out of her house to see me. I did my best to be there for her. She knew all along what the budget for her school was. If she had told me a year or two ago that she was planning on attending this school I could have saved up, but this is just too last minute and I do not have the money. Edit 2. I studied art and I have no issue with her choosing fashion. But paying that much is not necessary for that degree. Different degrees require different levels of cost. There are better schools that Sarah can afford. You do not pay the same for an art degree as you do for an engineering degree. Her 4 years cost as much as Kate's 7 years of med school. That's insane. As for Kate, I am paying less for her than I am with Sarah, as me, my wife and Kate's dad share the cost. Edit 3. Sorry for mixing up Kate, Carly's name. I am not used to using fake names. I will go over the post and try and fix it. You lived with your daughter until she was 13 and then disappeared? Kind of a dick move. I think you only got visitation rights and didn't take advantage of them. You are the asshole. You clearly do favor your stepdaughter, the med student you used this post to brag about, over your daughter, studying, as you put it, something as ridiculous as fashion. So she was right about you. You are the asshole. She is your daughter for 18 years. The other is your stepchild or 3/4 of a year. Your stepchild has parents. You clearly favor someone who you have no financial or moral obligations to because you clearly like her and her mother, your wife, more. How appalling to be a mediocre father to your biological child while being a better father to one that isn't even yours. I am paying for Kate as well. I cannot afford it. Your obligation is towards your daughter. If you have a lot of money as you could give both of them, but if you don't have enough money, remember who is your daughter. Kate has parents. Info. What are the cost differences between Sarah and your stepdaughter's schools? Am I the asshole for refusing a pity invite? My F20 family friend, Phoebe F23, is getting married this summer. Originally I wasn't invited, only my parents. When I found out that all the other girls in the family friend group, age range 18–22, were invited, I felt really sad and excluded. Despite that, I didn't make a scene. I just accepted the fact that I wasn't invited and I wasn't going to ask why I wasn't invited. All the girls are in a group chat, except for Phoebe, and they were all talking about what dresses they'd wear to the wedding. I was asked in the chat what I was going to wear and I replied that I wouldn't be at the wedding because I was not invited. All the girls were very shocked because we all grew up close, so they were confused as to why Phoebe wouldn't invite me. I told them it was okay and that it's not a big deal. One of the girls in the group chat, Nadia, F21, then said that she also wouldn't be at the wedding because she would be on a work trip that same weekend. The fact that all the girls were shocked about me not being invited got back to Phoebe and she sent me this exact message this morning. "Hey. We sent out invitations for the wedding earlier this month and we know it only listed your parents, but Nadia isn't going anymore so you could come if you'd like. The thing is we already confirmed with the caterer the exact number of people so unfortunately there won't be dinner for you at the reception. We can try to figure something out for you though. Let us know." I replied, "Thank you for reaching out Phoebe, but unfortunately I cannot attend your wedding. We grew up together and the fact that I wasn't even a thought to be on the original guest list but the other girls were, speaks volumes. We've never had issues so I'm not sure what your thought process was with that decision. I won't be accepting a pity invite just because someone else has cancelled a spec with the complications of dinner. I wish you a beautiful wedding day and a happy marriage nonetheless." Apparently that text message did not go over well with Phoebe and she started telling everyone that I was being very rude for refusing her invite and calling it a pity invite. Now everyone is telling me that I kinda deserved not to be invited. Am I the asshole? Edit. I sent the link to this post and the screenshot of Phoebe's message to the group chat. The girls are now calling out Phoebe for being fake. I love watching this just blow up in Phoebe's face, evil laugh, cold sweat smile. Edit 2. So Phoebe has made a lot of crying phone calls to the other girls claiming this situation has her very stressed, and she didn't mean for this to escalate like that. Okay. Anywho, deadpan face. Also there are a couple comments about how the dinner thing makes no sense because of Nadia dropping out. Here's my take. 1. Either Phoebe fabricated the lie that the caterer numbers are set, to convince me not to go, very likely. 2. Nadia Arvist, no, a while back, as well as everyone else that's not going and Phoebe gave that updated number to the caterer. Then the whole situation of everyone finding out I wasn't invited happened. The timeline doesn't really make that much sense here but that's my only other logical explanation for this. Either way, Phoebe is dumb. Not the asshole, it was a pity invite as per her own message. Had she not mentioned that because Nadia isn't coming you can come now proves the exact point. She is entitled to invite who she wants, and you have the right to be upset for being excluded and not accepting a pity invite. Especially that as per your post you seem like you accepted it gracefully and didn't throw a fit or make a scene. Not the asshole. It wasn't even a pity invite, it was a, well the food is already paid for and we can't get a refund invite. She's also trying to save face in the friend group. Don't do her any favors. Not the asshole. An invite to a sit-down dinner with no seat after invites have gone out, it is the definition of a pity invite. Maybe you were harsh by being honest, but hey, the truth hurts sometimes. Not the asshole. It was definitely a pity invite and you don't need that person in your life. Not the asshole. You called it as you saw it and I think you were right. Am I the asshole for refusing to use personal hygiene products despite my GF's protests? My girlfriend, 26F, and I, 30M, have been talking about this for a while and it's been an amicable discussion as much as it can be at this point. Essentially, it does sound as bad as the title admittedly because ever since I was little, think early elementary school days, I've had an extremely odd revulsion towards any sort of artificial product. Artificial in this sense doesn't mean whether or not the ingredients are natural or not but basically anything made and sold for cleaning purposes, regardless of whether it's for personal hygiene or household cleaning. Think anything like toothpaste, body wash, deodorant, Clorox wipes, hand sanitizer, etc. I physically gag and am on the verge of throwing up with any toothpaste for example, regardless of the flavor, taste, etc. And I have to hold my nose if forced to use any products. Smelling anything of the sort usually makes me extremely uncomfortable and I've thrown up when exposed to them for extended periods of time. Trust me when I say I do understand how unreasonable it sounds on the surface, but to provide some context, I personally consider myself a very clean person. I shower usually twice a day on average, wash my hands thoroughly, with water, for 20–30 seconds each time, clean and vacuum very often, etc. I guess what I'm trying to say is that I do make sure to be as clean as I can, just not with products, so basically everything is done with water. For further context and for what it's worth, I have never in my entire life had any comments on me being smelly or anything of the sort. I also barely get sick with my conscious efforts to promote cleanliness, knock on wood. My girlfriend also does admit to me always been very clean and not smelling ever. But as you can probably guess, she simply can't wrap her head around and accept the fact that I simply refuse to use any of the aforementioned products. Am I the asshole in this case? Edit. 1. I honestly appreciate everyone's insights more than they might know because it's refreshing to hear the different perspectives, most of which are at the bottom line I need to see a therapist on my issue. I would however, like to make one thing abundantly clear from a specific visual and scent hygiene perspective. I have gotten respective insights from my dentist, doctor, brother, parents, GF, close friends alike that I do not smell even the slightest and nothing of the like. No dirty teeth, no smelly armpits, no stinky breath for a fact because this isn't the first time I've inquired on this, and outside of genuine cleanliness issues, they've affirmed my confidence in the looks and smell department. So even if you personally can't fathom this and believe this, I would appreciate the understanding that this post is operating under the assumption that I don't look or smell dirty in the slightest. With that being said, I do understand the concept of not being able to literally clean everything off with just water though, and this is something I will be willing to compromise. I'm thinking I'll use soap after any activity where bacteria is potentially more of an issue, and I'll just hold my breath and wash for 2-3 minutes after so I can't feel or smell any of the remnants after. I have never in my entire life had any comments on me being smelly or anything of the sort. I had a friend who stunk to high heaven and I didn't say anything because I didn't have the heart. You are the asshole. Bruh, is this a joke? You never use toothpaste? That alone would do it for me, let alone the deodorant and soap. You are the asshole, and you need to consult with an expert about this, because it sounds like you have some kind of condition. Info. How do you clean your dishes? Please tell me you're like vegan or something, because the idea that you wouldn't clean a cutting board used for meat makes me want to sink into the ground and never come back up. And soap? For your hands? How do you wash your butt? OMG, it gets worse the more I think about it. Ever thought about getting a screening for autism? You are the asshole, you are not clean with just water. It sounds like you have some mental issue you should get help with. But stop lying to yourself, you are not clean. Am I the asshole for siding with my boyfriend after he was racist to one of my friends? Me, 18F, and my boyfriend, 20M, have been together for 3 years. I'm part of a friend group since the beginning of high school, and we spend a lot of time together. We're graduating soon and I really didn't want to lose contact with them. I met my boyfriend when I went to the US to practice English. He was on the same program. He is born and raised in Asia, and he still has a hard time comprehending our cultural differences. He recently came to visit me and spend a month in my country, and last Friday we both went to a restaurant with my friends. One of them is mixed, her mother is white and her father is an African immigrant. She has small features, but a dark skin and long wavy black hair. Let's call her Jenna. We all sat on the table and at some point we started to talk about how the usage of sunscreen is not common here like it is in East Asia, even though we live in a hot country. I pointed out that we don't have the same beauty standards, and for us freckles and sunburns are cute. Jenna then said, sun exposure can also make your skin tanned, and my boyfriend answered, yes, that's true. We have a lot of products that make your skin lighter though. I can tell you what are the best ones if you want to try. All of my friends stared at me, surprised and angry. Jenna simply stood up and left the restaurant, without paying her part of the bill. My boyfriend seemed very confused and asked, is she okay? I told him we could talk about it later and I told my other friends we had to go home. The car ride was very silent. My boyfriend was driving and I was lost in my thoughts. When we arrived we sat on the sofa and I had a talk to him about colorism and how what he said was problematic. He understood and told me he didn't know it was bad and felt ashamed of what he did. We tried to call Jenna, but she didn't pick up. He left her a message through my phone saying he felt very sorry and wouldn't do that again. The message was marked as read, but she didn't respond at all. This morning I went to school while my mother took my boyfriend shopping. When I approached Jenna to say hi, she literally acted like I wasn't there. Then one of my other friends said that they wouldn't talk to someone that was dating a racist, and if I was still with him it's because I'm racist too. I told them that he had already understood his mistake and apologized. I also said that when Kelly made fun of my BF's accent they didn't say anything about racism, and that he's still trying to learn about our culture and diversity. They said that being racist isn't something that can change in a weekend, and I'm disgusting for siding with him. Sarah then said that they would tell other people I'm racist. I was shocked at the immaturity, and told her if they spread those lies it would throw our friendship on the trash. I just arrived home and am afraid my boyfriend will feel guilty. I still think they are overreacting and I won't end my relationship because of that. So, am I the asshole? Edit. Some people said I should have done something right away. We were in a crowded restaurant, and it would cause even more of a scene there. We went home right after Jenna left. Everyone sucks here. What the fuck, didn't you say something to him immediately? It's not a crime to be ignorant, but it really does make you look like a racism apologist to tell him you'll talk to him about it later and then leave instead of apologizing on his behalf and starting a conversation about colorism right there. That was an incredibly dumb move. Your friend shouldn't be so absolute because cultural differences are real and people get indoctrinated into their culture without realizing the implicit biases. However, I totally understand why she doesn't believe you or want to listen to you based on the way you handled this. Bigotry through ignorance can only be fought by bringing it out into the light. Not the asshole. Your friends are overreacting. Cultural differences doesn't make someone a racist. Jenna should have paid her bill though. I'm curious why you felt the need to point out that her dad is an immigrant. Not the asshole, and neither is your boyfriend. There are cultural differences between him and your friends, but screaming racism at every perceived slight is a mental illness. Additionally, knowing what to say at the immediate moment of such a cultural miscommunication can be difficult. You addressed it quickly afterward. Whitening creams have long histories in countries such as India. You may not like the practice or the product, but it is pure ignorance to call it colorism in this context. This is not the Western world. Truth be told, there is a lot of actual racism and actual bias against your boyfriend's people. Kelly and Jenna appear to be at minimum ethnocentric and potentially racist. YTA, he basically called her ugly and you didn't really care. You don't have to break up with him, but your friends are understandably probably going to drop you.